You're settling in for the night when suddenly, without warning, everything changes. One moment you're in control of your thoughts, your memories, your very identity. The next moment, someone else is pulling the strings. This isn't science fiction. This happened to real people, sanctioned by your government, funded by your tax dollars. It's 1953, and you're a hospital patient in Montreal, Canada. You checked in for anxiety, maybe some mild depression. Nothing serious. But Dr. Ewan Cameron has other plans for you. He's one of the most respected psychiatrists in the world, the president of the American Psychiatric Association. Surely you're in good hands. You're not. For the next several weeks, you're subjected to what Cameron calls psychic driving. You're put into a drug-induced sleep for days, sometimes weeks at a time. While unconscious, a tape recorder plays the same message over and over. Your mother didn't love you. You're worthless. You need to forget everything. 16 hours a day, every day, the same phrases hammer into your drugged mind. But that's just the beginning. When you finally wake up, Dr. Cameron administers electroshock therapy. Not the controlled medical electroshock therapy used today. No, you receive shocks 30 to 40 times more powerful than standard treatments. Your brain seizes. Your body convulses. And then you forget. You forget your name. You forget your children. You forget how to use a toilet. The doctors have successfully erased you. This actually happened to over 100 patients. But here's what makes your blood run cold. Dr. Cameron wasn't a rogue madman working alone in the shadows. He was funded by the CIA through a front organization. The project was called MKUltra, and what happened in Montreal was just one small piece of a sprawling web of human experimentation that would eventually touch thousands of unwitting victims. Let's go back to where this nightmare began. World War II has just ended. American intelligence officers are horrified by reports from the front. Communist interrogators seem to have developed techniques to break anyone. American POWs are confessing to crimes they didn't commit. They're denouncing their own country. They appear brainwashed. The CIA becomes obsessed with a single question: is there really a way to control the human mind? In 1953, CIA Director Allen Dulles approves a program that will become the agency's darkest secret, MKUltra. The goal is simple and terrifying: discover methods to control human behavior. Memory erasure, personality modification, creating unwitting assassins. Nothing is off the table. Sidney Gottlieb, a chemist with a stutter and a club foot, becomes the program's director. He'll oversee 149 separate projects, involving at least 80 institutions, including universities, hospitals, and prisons. Here's what should terrify you. Most of the test subjects never knew they were part of an experiment. You're in a San Francisco bar in 1955. A friendly stranger buys you a drink. You accept, because why wouldn't you? Within minutes, the room starts spinning. Colors bleed together. The walls breathe. You're experiencing a full-blown LSD trip, except you have no idea what's happening to you. You think you're dying or going insane. The stranger who drugged you, he's a CIA operative. The bar is actually a safe house, and you're being watched through a two-way mirror by agents taking notes on your reaction. This operation was called Midnight Climax, and it ran for nearly a decade. CIA agents, working with prostitutes on the agency payroll, would lure unsuspecting men to these safe houses, dose them with LSD and other drugs, and observe what happened. They filmed everything. The project head, George White, a federal narcotics agent working for the CIA, kept a diary. In it, he wrote, "I was a very minor missionary, actually a heretic, but I toiled wholeheartedly in the vineyards because it was fun. Where else could a red-blooded American boy lie, kill, cheat, steal, rape, and pillage with the sanction and blessing of the All-Highest? These were the people conducting experiments on American citizens. But the LSD experiments went far beyond barroom dosings. You're a CIA employee at a retreat in 1953. Your colleague, Dr. Frank Olson, seems troubled after a meeting where everyone's after-dinner drinks were secretly spiked with LSD. 9 days later, Frank Olson crashes through a hotel window and falls to his death from the 10th floor. The CIA calls it suicide. His family isn't so sure. Decades later, evidence suggests Frank Olson might have been murdered because he knew too much about the agency's biological weapons program. Now imagine you're a prisoner at the federal penitentiary in Atlanta. You're offered a deal: volunteer for medical research and get reduced time off your sentence. You agree. What happens next will haunt you forever. You're given massive doses of LSD for 77 straight days. Other prisoners receive mescaline, morphine, and experimental drugs that don't even have names yet. Some inmates are given drugs that make them violently ill. Others experience psychological breaks from which they never fully recover. The prisoners couldn't truly consent. They were coerced by the promise of freedom. But the CIA didn't care about consent. They cared about data. At the Lexington Narcotics Farm in Kentucky, another prison facility, drug-addicted inmates became perfect test subjects. The CIA researchers had leverage. Addicts would do almost anything for their fix. So the doctors made a deal. Participate in experiments and you'll receive the drugs you crave. Men were kept on LSD for months. Some were given drug combinations never tested on humans. One person was dosed with LSD for 174 days straight. Think about that. Nearly half a year of continuous hallucination, paid for with heroin and morphine. But perhaps the cruelest experiments targeted the most vulnerable, children. In the 1950s and 60s, orphans and mentally disabled children at institutions across America became test subjects. At the Walter E. Fernald State School in Massachusetts, children were fed radioactive oatmeal so researchers could track nutrient absorption. The children thought they were joining a science club. Their parents, if they had any, were told the experiments were harmless. Under MKUltra's umbrella, researchers also studied children to see if they could create multiple personalities that could be controlled. They exposed children to trauma, drugs, and hypnosis, trying to fracture their minds into compartments that could be activated with triggers. We may never know the full extent of what happened to these children because the CIA destroyed most of the records. Yes, destroyed. In 1973, as Watergate unraveled and congressional investigations loomed, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered all MKUltra files destroyed. Shredded. Burned. Gone. Everything we know about MKUltra today comes from a few boxes of financial records that survived by accident, testimonies from victims, and documents obtained through Freedom of Information requests. What we do know is staggering. The CIA conducted experiments on American soldiers, dosing them without knowledge or consent. They tested drugs on terminal cancer patients. They explored sensory deprivation, keeping people in isolation tanks for days. They experimented with verbal and sexual abuse as control mechanisms. They attempted to induce amnesia, plant false memories, and create Manchurian candidates who could be programmed to kill on command. Did they succeed? The official answer is no. The CIA claims that despite decades of work and millions of dollars, MKUltra produced no useful intelligence techniques. But how can we trust that answer when the people making it destroyed the evidence? Some researchers believe the program simply went further underground, renamed and reorganized. After all, the CIA lied about MKUltra's existence for years. When finally forced to admit the program existed, they lied about its scope. When details emerged anyway, they destroyed the records. Why should we believe they ever truly stopped? The victims of MKUltra never fully recovered. The patients in Montreal who had their memories erased spent the rest of their lives relearning how to be human. Some never remembered their children. Many families were destroyed. In the 1980s, Canada settled a lawsuit with the victims, but the CIA never admitted wrongdoing. The American government paid token settlements while admitting nothing. The prisoners who were dosed for months experienced lasting psychological damage. The men lured into safe houses and drugged without warning developed paranoia, depression, and PTSD. Some died, others wished they had. And we'll never know everyone who was affected because the records are ash. What makes MKUltra truly disturbing isn't just what happened. It's what it reveals about the people in power. These weren't rogue agents. This was approved at the highest levels. Presidents were briefed. Congress appropriated funds, even if they didn't know the details. Universities participated. Doctors violated their oaths, all in the name of national security. You want to believe your government wouldn't do this to its own people. But it did. For 20 years, the CIA treated Americans as lab rats. And when they got caught, they destroyed the evidence and moved on. The next time someone dismisses talk of government experiments as conspiracy theory, remember MKUltra actually happened. It's not paranoia, it's history.